Hyperbole.
I'm not trying hyperbole.
That's not the epitome of hyperbole.
Epitome of hyperbole. Hey there, Nomads of Lore. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Sean.
So, do you think that this is worth $1 billion? Or this is worth $1 billion? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, there's a lot of hubbub about the rings of power. Hubbub. I'm coming up with all sorts of words. We're looking for a word
You're
here.
like an old man with your words. To find out why Jonathan and I were laughing like complete and utter idiots, you should stay tuned till the end. Check back with you later.
So, all my old madness is coming out.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so there's lots of talk about the rings of power and how much
screaming
and how much money they've spent on all the effects and all the craziness. So we just wanted to kind of discuss that and talk about, you know, is it worth it? And so starting with the special effects, what do you think about them?
So I personally think I think our opinions are a little different on this particular topic. I think overall, the look and feel, special effects, the sets. I mean, the sets have been a lot outdoors and whatever. Some of these words are escaping me. Tolkien knowledge is oozing out my ears.
Needs to be oozing.
Whatever. The sets have been pretty cool overall. The costumes, I think, some of them have been okay. A lot of them have been good, in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff. Some of the creature work has been good. I think the orcs look really great. The warg, we've been talking about that. I think personally the overall
Crazy eyes.
Exactly. I think the overall look of the warg he's pretty cool. And it definitely looks CG still, but is good. Now I don't know about the weird crazy eyes. I don't know about that. But that's less a quality of CG and more a aesthetic design decision.
Yeah.
And so there's that. Now there have been, as we showed you a few minutes ago, a few very off-putting, to say the least, moments. We both were with the dwarf scene. We're like, what the heck is what? This is extremely weird. And I don't like it. It doesn't. It's just kind of dumb.
Specifically talking about when they're having the whatever he calls it, where they're hitting the rocks, but the dwarves are screaming, and it's real close up, and it looks like weird shots, scary shots.
Didn't feel like it didn't fit the rest of the aesthetic and the look and feel. And then the other one that, in my opinion, was extremely off-putting. I mean, honestly, I was talking to a commenter on one of our videos about that scene that we kind of forgot to talk about it. We were kind of making other points in that particular video, but you know, they were pointing out that scene, and I would say that scene, the scene with Galadriel on the horse, is off-putting at best, in my opinion, and honestly, maybe even pushing towards the creepy side. I mean, I thought her flowy dress was pretty. Like, that was pretty, and the horse was pretty. But like the shot was like over exaggerated and very weird. Like both from the pulled out shot and even close. I mean, she's a lovely lady. Don't get me wrong. Like, don't misunderstand what I'm saying at all. But like that shot, the way it was shot was just weird.
Yeah,
really weird.
No, it even the smile was creepy. I was looking at stills for our thumbnail for the last video, and I was thinking, oh, maybe that shot with her smiling on the horse would be a good counter position to the angry face. So I went and looked at it, and it was a very scary smiling face, and I was like,
very strange. Just
maybe
very,
not that one.
Very weird.
Then you've got Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, that's not creepy, but both very disappointed.
It's it's boring.
And it should. I mean, this should be. I mean, they've been doing weird things with timeline, and not just compressing it. I mean, that's, of course they're going to compress the timeline. That's fine. I mean, that's obviously fine. But they've been doing some weird things with it. But I mean, unless I'm really misunderstanding where we are in Tolkien lore, quote unquote, this should be the height of Khazad-dûm's power and glory and grandeur. and we got a weird not weird, that's bad choice of words, but we got a waterfall with some buckets and a really boring and kind of lame sort of entry throne room place where we chop rocks.
I was just now thinking about this. I remember the Peter Jackson version of Khazad-dûm, and this I think is just trying to appeal to that one and kind of make it not old, and like it's newly fashioned or whatever, and has a little bit more life to it, basically.
Right.
But there was more intrigue in Peter Jackson's version of Khazad-dûm than there is in this one.
And the one in Peter Jackson's version, I mean, I have some actual qualms with Peter Jackson's version. I'm not a Peter Jackson apologist by any stretch of the imagination, but that's actually canonically what it should have looked like
at that point.
And it should have been bustling and filled with life, and like the life and that's great. I don't even mind the water. It's not the fact that the waterfall existed. When we first saw that I was kind of like, oh, that'll be fine, and we're gonna pan over and get these grand glorious halls and whatever else, and we got a crappy room with rocks,
little tiny room,
and maybe we'll see more. Maybe I'm not holding my breath honestly with that one, but maybe. So
so we've liked some of it. We've disliked
a lot of it. As far as look and feel, at least personally, anyway.
Yeah, and I am at the point where I think it's good, and I think I've gotten overstimulated is not the right word. What was I saying earlier?
Desynthesized.
Synthesized.
He's desynted. We took out his scent glands.
So been desensitized. That you can get desensitized to various things, gore, or cussing, or whatever, and you get to the point where you don't even notice it anymore. And I feel like I've been that way for visual effects. It's like good visual effects are kind of the norm, especially in movies, and it is a good point that this is TV, but it has such a budget that it's like you're pushing into the boundaries of needing to be compared to movies because of the budget.
Right.
And so I don't think they push the envelope when you compare to movies. I don't feel like they push the envelope anywhere. Now, I haven't felt that the envelope has necessarily been pushed in effects or camera work or anything in a long time. So it's not necessarily that I can fault them for that, but I feel like for that amount of money, there should be something that is just
blowing me away. That's hard, at some point with visual effects, I think we're there a little bit as far as film and TV and whatever else, where it's almost a little bit at a point of diminishing returns. It's like, what would be the next level of this is amazing and blowing away, whatever. And a lot of times, as been as often discussed, the best CG, I think creature work and other things like that in CG is a little bit different. And, we're getting the realm of like deep fake technology and some of those kind of things. That's kind of more pushing the envelope technically. And then also interesting camera work, like the crazy camera scene in Wheel of Time with the IEL. Some of those cool, that's some of these more technology advancements. But as far as like the quality of CG, we're kind of at the point where if it's really good CG, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
And so and so kind of where that line exists is kind of hard. And I think there's been some really beautiful things. I think some of the sweeping shots of Numenor and some of those which were probably all CG, if not mostly. I suspect, I don't know, research that, but I thought some of those were really beautiful. The interior shots of Numenor and some of those other things, they were fine. They were probably mostly practical, to be honest, and they looked good. They weren't distracting, which is they fit and weren't distracting, which is probably what set and scenery needs to be for a lot of the time. So they were probably fine. But yeah, so there is a lot we do like visually.
Yeah. And again, maybe they did push the envelope a little bit as far as comparing to TV shows right now. When you compare to other things, like especially like Wheel of Time, there were some cool things like the Aiel shot that you're talking about. And I had completely forgotten about that, but there was some terrible CG in that show, and I know it was because of the time and everything. The terrible the terrible COVID.
Yeah.
Probably gonna get
have a banner at the bottom
shadow
of our
band
thing
now.
There you go.
Anyway, but they have pushed the envelope as far as TV shows goes,
and that's almost certainly
for
true.
visual effects.
Yes, for TV especially. When Game of Thrones obviously did it some before, but it's kind of more at the end of the show versus the beginning of the show. And kind of talking about some of that. And I'm going more on hearsay because I've watched the show or read the books, Game of Thrones. But so you could make the case that it has pushed that envelope in some of the visuals. Now, on the flip side of that, and this is where, for me especially, and I think Jonathan's in agreement, at some point the visuals are visuals, right? And some people are more visuals oriented, and that's what they like about the show or a show.
But even if it's beautiful,
and
it has a terrible story.
Well, yeah, and that might be.
I'm not specifically talking about this. I'm just saying if it does, if it's beautiful and it has a bad story, I think would be trash.
Very hard to say is that so far. Now, it's perhaps too early to tell.
Episode 3, we'll give it a little bit of
episode
grace.
3. Sure, I'm willing to wait some of these things out.
Yeah,
at this point, for now.
But as of this point. It is absolutely not pushing the envelope in terms of story or in terms of characters or any of those things. And it's an adaptation. It's really more like $1 billion fan fiction, and whatever else, which some have argued Wheel of Time is adaptation is the same way. And I can see that. I think this is more that than that is, but it's not pushing that envelope. And and this is and you might say, well, that's it's doing it's following very formulaic fantasy stuff and whatever else. And so are we being too hard on the story and the characters? Maybe. And so there's two things that are worth noting with that, and that for us at least we choose to take these things into account, and that is one that. This is based on the work of Tolkien, right? And now they don't have rights to what they're adapting. I use that term very loosely here. But they also, and this one is important. In fact, Jonathan was really wanting to say this one, so I may toss it over to him and let him make this point. But the showrunners and some of the things that they have said make us feel like So we had a commenter bring this to light.
Point this out.
Who was it? Matt?
It was. I don't remember what his name was.
Anyway, thank you, commenter, whoever you are, pointing this out. And it was he was not even. I don't even think he was agreeing with what we were saying.
Nope,
he was just telling
us.
Us.
He was politely disagreeing with something I.
But it was good, and he said, the fact that the showrunners said that they had written the book that Tolkien never wrote. And then I when I read that, I was like, okay, kind of rolled my eyes. I'm thinking in my head, maybe he just took something out of context. I got to see this for myself. So we spent some time looking.
I was pretty sure at that point that I had heard it.
Yeah.
In my memory
but
somewhere.
I wanted to see it before we made a comment and
yes.
said anything in a video. I wanted to see it for my own eyes. And sure enough, showrunner said that they have written the book that Tolkien never wrote. And I'm sorry, but as of episode 3, I call bullcrap.
Well, and there are some, I think there are at least some objective measures that, as far as was pointed out in the comment, whatever else, the writing is absolutely clunky in places. It is using modern anachronisms and whatever else, and it's as we've been pointing out, it's hitting kind of lowest common denominator generic fantasy beats. And typical, very, very typical, very stereotypical.
Key of that being lowest common denominator as well. And what frustrates me so much about that is, who do they think they are? I don't really care.
Well, And if you're gonna say that, you better be able to back it up.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, and even then, it's so arrogant. Even if you are that good, and I know that a lot of writers are arrogant. We won't name any names, but
even great ones.
But yeah,
like Stephen King.
George R.R. Martin. If we're going to talk about anybody being anywhere near written anything near what Tolkien was able to do as far as building not only this great story, but also
Robert Jordan fans mad, but continue.
but also a world behind it and languages and all these things, and Jordan as well. I'm not trying to.
I was more making a joke.
Yes, Wheel of Time fans, I still love you. I'm still here. Anyway, we're still here together, waiting on season 2. But anyway, there are writers that I would say are getting to that level. I don't know. I don't think I've idolized him as much as Sean has, but Tolkien is amazing. And so to say for a showrunner and a writer of a show that has never written
zero experience, essentially,
yes, to say that they wrote something that Tolkien never wrote, it's just like, no, you
definitely wrote something that Tolkien never wrote.
You spent a summer in 2020 or 2021 or whatever and spent 3 months working on some little, anyway,
that's probably hyperbole.
I digress. I'm trying.
Hyperbole.
I'm not trying. Hyperbole.
That's not the epitome of hyperbole.
Epitome of hyperbole. I like epitome. And I like epitome better. Thank you very much to all you that hate my epitome.
It does seem phonetical.
It does.
Anyway, we digress.
So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I just have a problem with them saying that it's. If you have to say that you're the greatest of all time, wink, wink, does that make you the greatest of all time? It's yet to be seen.
Time will tell. Yep. Yet to be seen. We do want to make it clear that there are some things that we've enjoyed Nori's thing. We've got some curiosities about some things. We're not there. We have not totally written the show off yet. If you have. And you've made it this far in this video, thanks for being here.
Give it a thumbs up.
Give it a thumbs up. That'd be great. Or at least let us know why your thumbs down it or whatever else in the comments. But so there are several things I personally enjoyed in episode 3, and there's some other stuff that we're we're hopeful for. So we don't want this to come off like we're completely and utterly hating everything.
And something we try to say a lot, and we don't say it every time we have a video, but it's okay to like it. It's okay to dislike it. It's up to you. We're just giving you our opinions and where we're at. So thank you guys for being here.
Don't forget to like, comment below where you're at with Rings of Power. We will see you next time.
Later.
Bend over. No.
What?
What else do people say? Get off my lawn, you kids!